So, we're finally in Mexico City. I'm right here in the Zocalo. So, as you might know, that's the historic center, the very center of the city. I'm right here. Actually, the Zocalo have been designed, or at least is situated, where you had the market place of Tenochtitlan, the capital of the Aztec Empire. This Zocalo is one of the biggest places in the world, and is now the legit location for every kind of manifestation that can occur in the public life of this country. I can't tell you how weird it feels to be in this place, because I've read the conquest of Mexico by Hernán Cortés and all the steps they did to arrive here. It's very sad that he decided to, after the 2 years of the invasion, to completely raze the city. The paving from the Templo Mayor, the great temple that once stood up here, actually not far from here, have been used to pave this huge place. You hear it right behind me. That's the cathedral. Apparently she has a little bit tilted because the ground here wasn't stable, so they had to inject a lot of concrete to stabilize it. On this side, from very far, right there, that's the Palacio Nacional, basically where the residency and the offices of the President of Mexico is located. And I think this is where every year or so it comes out from the balcony and screams, "Viva Mexico! Viva Mexico! Viva Mexico!" Apparently the stones from Templo Mayor that once stood up not so far were reused to make the paving of the Zocalo. But since the many centuries, this place apparently had many transformations, so I don't know if I'm looking at the real stones of what once used to be the Templo Mayor. Once again, beautiful example of Hispanic colonial Baroque. I don't know, but the sound of this bell really feels super gloomy. As if to remember all that stuff that happened here.
María Victoria Pérez Hernández y familia. Jesús Benigno Núñez Rodríguez. Nos movemos y somos. Como lo ha dicho alguno de los poetas de ustedes, somos de su mismo linaje. Por lo tanto, si somos linaje...
Tenochtitlan, or Mexico, used to be in the middle of a lake. When Hernán Cortés and his men came here, he found some kind of Venice built on the middle of Lake Texcoco, I believe. It was a salted lake, and a huge power, a local power, the Aztecs, have built their capital in the middle of this lake on this island, from which you can have access on different paths, basically that were built on the water. But genuinely, it looked like a small Venice. By the way, when truly the war started to try to take the city, he had to build, I think, 9 small and fast ships to try to counteract the small incursions that happened day and night for months on end, and try to take the control of the lake on the first place, try to take the control of all the small villages that were around Tenochtitlan, and then finally take the control of the city. The ruins that you see right there might not like much, but this is what we call the Templo Mayor. This is the temple where all the rituals were performed, all the sacrifices were performed right on the top of this pyramid. Today, nothing left from here because the stones from this Templo Mayor were used for the paving of the great square, the Zocalo, but also for the houses of some of Cortés's men. So the symbolic significance of this place is very, very high. Keep in mind that the Aztecs would try to go to war to neighboring communities and capture their warriors and then sacrifice them on the top of this temple. By the way, when Hernán Cortés entered Tenochtitlan, he took as a hostage Moctezuma. However, at some point, the locals rebelled and Moctezuma was killed. Not by Hernán Cortés's men, but he just got killed. It's very, very... we don't really know the conditions, but probably the locals decided that Moctezuma was just a puppet at the hands of Hernán Cortés and decided to kill him in a revolt. And during a famous night, the Noche Triste, Hernán Cortés escaped Tenochtitlan, and he had really to fight his way outside the city because, as you saw, there are only few exits because it's surrounded by water. There's an exit here, there, and there, and that's basically it. So they had to fight their way through their exit, and he basically lost hundreds of men. It is said that half of his men have been lost. I think it's a couple of hundreds. And what happened is that they've been all captured, like the Aztecs do. They capture their opponents. They do not try to kill them. So they captured these Spanish conquistadors, and they all killed them there. They all sacrificed them for their gods. This must have been a huge bloodbath. We all thought that this temple disappeared in the time, but it's thanks to a construction project that started here that we discovered the first remainings of this temple, and this is where the excavation project in an archaeological way started. We can still see the red paint on the head of the Quetzalcoatl here and there. You see by the small iron structure right there that investigations are still going on. Why is that? It's because on the contrary to Egyptian pyramids, which are entirely a pile of stones, here they just make huge pile of rubble on top of which they surround it with stones into a pyramid shape. But the thing is that after each new ruler, they would coat with a new surrounding of stones and sculptures to assert the domination of the new ruler at the time. So the very interesting thing is that you can see a succession of stairs right behind each other, which represent the different phases of these rulers that succeeded one another. I can see at least 4 staircases, so at least 4 rulers maybe took over this place. So basically this is how it must have looked like. This is the Moneda Street, right on the side of the presidential palace, and this is basically where it's the center of the Mexican political life. I'm not sure if I can, but I want to visit this presidential palace. Apparently we can, but I'm not sure if it's possible at the moment. Let's see. I made it. I'm gonna be able to visit the palace. I'm actually in the government bathroom. Let's have a little bit of government soap. Let's go. Ah. I'm right now in the north court of the palace.
Ok, va a ser esto que le llamo.
So you might ask yourself how only 300 men that freshly landed on Mexico ended up taking over a whole empire, the mighty, the powerful Aztec Empire that dominated all the center of Mexico. Well, there are multiple reasons about that. The first reason is that when he arrived there, Hernán Cortés quickly noticed that the domination of the Aztec on the region was quite fragile because it was a domination and the Aztec would regularly go to the neighboring communities and other villages and kidnap people in order to continue the sacrifices, for example, and also need some more food and take a bunch of things, which made them quite unpopular. So among one of these communities that sworn to be enemies to the Aztecs were the people of Tlaxcala. And indeed, people from Tlaxcala at the beginning fought against Hernán Cortés, but they quickly changed their mind, and instead of trying to fight this guy, they were like, okay, you know what, maybe we should change sides and start fighting for the Spanish against the tyranny of the Aztecs. So this is one of the first reasons. Another reason we can think about, which is more obvious of course, is just the difference in terms of equipment and technology, because the Aztecs only had weapons made of obsidian stones and only armors made of padded cotton, and that's it. They had no artillery, they had no horses. By the way, when the Spanish arrived, the Mexicans thought that the horse with the man on top of it was the same person, the same mystical being, and Hernán Cortés clearly continued and kept on this impression by adding small what's the name of that, bells, small bells on the sides of the horses to make more noise and keep impressing them. One of the probably last also major things we can think about that could contribute to the defeat of the Aztecs was just the disease. You had diseases that started plaguing the city and just exterminated bunch of people there, which of course contributed to weakening the Mexican people there, and thus facilitating the victory of Hernán Cortés on the Mexicans.